I am 41 years old, and my husband is 42 years old. We live with our 5-year-old son in a male 2-bedroom apartment. I also have 2 adult children and a granddaughter who live on their own. I had a traumatic childhood. My mother and I have a strained relationship because of it. I've been to therapy, but she has not. I've learned to forgive, and due to my culture, Indigenous American, I personally cannot just go no contact without severe repercussions from the rest of my family who were supportive and did try to help me. My mother, who is now 62 years old, lives back in our home state. She still has a drinking problem. She recently divorced her husband, moved out of her apartment, and became roommates with this young couple in their early 20s. However, she needs a new place to stay as they want to start a family and have asked her to move out. We recently had a fight because I discovered she has been drunk driving. Drunk driving is a hard boundary for me, as I've lost several family members from it, and I've had to help those family members through it. You don't want to know the pain of picking coffins for toddlers. I won't drink and drive, period. Learning that my mother had been doing it made me furious. I stopped talking to her for several weeks because she admitted she has had to do it several times to get home. I've taught her to use Uber and Lyft. When I was a child around 10 years old, I had to drive to the bar to pick her up some nights if I knew she'd have to get up in the morning. I did this frequently enough that the bouncer and bartender knew who I was and who I was there for. When I learned she'd been doing it again, I was livid. Then she asked if she could come live with me and my husband. I told her there are rules, and she'd have to abide by them. I don't think they are unreasonable. The rules? 1. Absolutely no drunk driving. If I find out she was drinking and driving, she would be asked to leave regardless of the time or day. 2. Do not get drunk in front of my son or my granddaughter. If my husband and I drink, it's after he goes to bed. Our granddaughter sometimes comes and spends the night, and the same rule would apply. 3. She may not share a room with the baby. We'd make a space for her in the living room until we found a larger place to accommodate her. 4. More warning than a rule, I did say I was finished picking her up from bars. Those are the rules. After hearing them, she stated, I can't promise I won't do that. So I said simply, then the answer is no. She said fine, and has been distant since. She called me several days later saying she's a grown woman and I can't force her not to drink. I never said she's not allowed to drink. I said, don't drink and drive and don't be drunk around my son and granddaughter. Of course, she called my aunties and my uncles and told them I won't let her live with me. I did explain it to them, and I'm being told by them that she's my mother and I should care for her the way she did for my gran. So am I the idiot? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but she's right in that she can't agree to abide by those rules because she is an active alcoholic. And it wouldn't be appropriate for an active alcoholic to live with your 5-year-old. Even if she had said yes, it wouldn't matter. She'd break the rules very quickly. It would just bring a lot of turmoil to your home. It might be hard, but it's better for you just to say no. As long as it's reasonable, help her find somewhere else to live, perhaps somewhere within walking distance of alcohol. At least then, she'd be less likely to drive. IDK, that might be considered enabling. I'd also recommend returning to therapy and/or Al-Anon meetings. Comment 2. Not the idiot. No, no, no. Not even a bit. A male 2-bedroom apartment is a small place, even if you had a good relationship with your mom. Your rules are perfectly reasonable. You'd be a bad parent if you let her be a bad influence on your children. Comment 3. Big hug to you. I just had my father, 80 years old, stay for 7 days, and after 3 days, the nightmares started again. On day 4, the crying started, and it just got worse. Protect yourself. You owe no obligations to her or anyone. Now, for the next story. I, 38-year-old male, have always had a very close relationship to my nephew Luke, 24-year-old male. Luke's mother, my sister, died when he was 4. His father Tommy does a pretty good job, but is always working, so although Tommy isn't around so much because he's trying to keep the lights on and food in the refrigerator, I've kind of taken up some of the more guidance-related parenting as Luke got older. Luke has been in a relationship with Janelle, 28-year-old female, for about 2 years. Janelle is widowed. Her husband Paul was a U.S. Marine, but was killed in a training accident 6 years ago. A few weeks ago, Luke came to me telling me that Janelle has been pressing him to propose, largely because she wants a baby, but he wasn't sure. He asked me if he should. I told him that no, because Janelle is still in love with Paul, and he will never measure up to the deified image she has created of him. Janelle talks endlessly about Paul. Anytime there is a problem, she'd start by saying, "If Paul were here," and then mention how he'd just squash the problem. That is, he'd know how to fix a seized engine on the side of the road, be able to complete a pass that Tom Brady couldn't, fight off a literal gang, etc. You'd think he were Paul Bunyan or Pecos Bill. He's not a man to her anymore, but she's put his memory up as an ideal. She will never be able to hold to one of the key marriage vows, forsaking all others. Paul will always be number one, and while Luke is doing the hard work of maintaining a home, marriage, and family, he's always going to be number two. I told him that sounds like a sad life and he should go and somewhere where he can be their Paul. He was hesitant, so I told him to invite her over for dinner. I'm going to ask her a couple of things. From there, he can decide. So Janelle comes over, and I tell her that her and Luke have started talking about children, and I'm excited for them. She's beaming and really excited too. I ask her if she has any names in mind. Obviously, she says Paul for a boy. I ask her if she'd consider Luke. She looks at me like I just suggested she jump off a cliff. She gets a bit angry and says how it's important to her to honor Paul, and he isn't here while Luke is. I told her I meant no offense and continued on. The next day, I went to Luke and told him that he's a fool if he marries her. If she has a son, it is far more important for her to honor Paul rather than the man who has pledged his life to her, is raising that son with her, and will be looking after her and their children for the rest of his life. Although I'd not bat an eye if she wanted to name their son anything other than Luke or Paul, she reacted as if it were a bad joke when I suggested that he get that honor. I told him, "Luke, I love you like a son. If you marry this woman, you're going to have a sad life and be marginalized every day." Luke ended the relationship a week later. I hear through the grapevine that Janelle is blaming me for ruining her second chance at happiness. Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but mostly because, regardless of what you think is going on with Janelle and Luke standing with her, it really just doesn't sound like he's ready. He asked your opinion and he probably got the right advice. I don't know where you live, but 24 is pretty young to get married, especially if the reason is that you're being pressured for a kid when you're not even sure about the relationship yet. Comment 2. Normally I would say, you're the idiot for getting involved with other people's relationships. But if you could so easily talk your nephew out of marrying the woman that he loves, then there were other issues. Seems like both the girlfriend and the nephew have issues they need to work on. Not the idiot. Comment 3. Not the idiot. If he had to ask you if he should propose, the answer is no. If he's not enthusiastic about getting married, the answer is no. Janelle can blame you all she wants, but she's the one that torpedoed that relationship by not accepting that her first relationship is over. Now, for the next story. Our group is divided on this one, so one of my friends told me I needed to post this here. I, 32 years old, female, have a group of friends from back in the day when I started dating my husband Rick, 34 years old, male. Rick and these friends met each other at different points of their careers. Some were interns, others were med students, but they held on to their friendship, and we still get together every other week and catch up. I consider every one of them as my own friends, and I love them all dearly. This group includes Heather, 29 years old, female. Heather is a rock star young doctor in a surgical specialty so male-dominated that she was the only female resident in her training for 4 years. I'm saying all this to emphasize that she is a very impressive person. Heather started dating her new girlfriend, Amy, 27 years old female, a few months ago, and she brought her to a few of our get-togethers, as everyone does when they get serious while dating someone. She is clearly head over heels for this girl. Amy works for a fancy fashion magazine and is all about style, clothes, bags, accessories, etc. During dinner, things built up slowly. Rick asked Amy to give everyone a fashion review, and she did, while telling everyone they looked nice. This other friend of ours, David, 30 years old male, told Amy how she had the best job in the world and she always got to do fun things. Amy said it took a lot of hard work and it was a serious and stressful job. She also said this was the best friend group she'd seen in ages because no one cared what she wore and no one was analyzing her style. I found that very insulting. I was like, are you saying we don't have a sense of style? Or maybe we don't have the ability to see if what someone's wearing looks good on them? That we don't care what we wear? I may be an AH here because I said caring so much about one's appearance is extremely toxic. And since she is with Heather, she could learn a thing or two from her. I may be an AH because Heather has a pretty static style. Since I met her years ago, she is either in scrubs or a white blouse and black skirt. There's no other way. And Amy thought this was me attacking Heather's style, but I was actually using her as an example. This upset Amy, and she said maybe we should talk about that trauma patient Heather had the other day, which excited Heather and led her to going on to tell the story. After the dinner, Heather texted me saying I needed to be nicer to Amy because she was serious about her and was upset by my words. I asked the group chat we have, and some guys defended me. Others agreed with Heather. Rick agrees with me. Am I the idiot, Aita? Now, for the next story. My mother-in-law gifted us a rocking chair from the 1910s, which belonged to some distant family members. My mother-in-law knows that it is not our style, and we wanted a more comfortable rocker for the baby's room. Well, that rocking chair has been in my toddler's room for 2 years now and has not been used. It is incredibly uncomfortable and does not provide any support. When I was postpartum and up late at night rocking the baby, my husband also does not like the chair. And now we are converting the room into a toddler room and making it safe since my child will no longer be in the crib. We asked my mother-in-law if she wanted to take it to her house since we have no storage space. We live in a small home with no storage. The options were either she takes it to store at her home or I post it on Buy Nothing. She got really upset and told us it's an heirloom and we need to keep it in our house and use it. Background info. My mother-in-law tends to give us a lot of stuff she finds thrifting, but we are minimalists. We have asked her to stop bringing stuff over because we have no room. She acts very offended when we don't want something. Also, the rocking chair is very wobbly and not sturdy because she gave it to us broken when I was 9 months pregnant and expected us to fix it, but we never got around to it. So, am I the A*** hole? Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She's upset that you don't value the same material things she does. Plus, she's basically using you as off-site storage for the junk she finds. You're definitely not alone. This is a common issue when dealing with family antiques. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Give your mother-in-law a little time to get used to it, but tell her that at a specific date, like 2 months away, you are getting rid of the chair. Heirloom or not, it is certainly not a ball and chain that can keep your furnishing choices hostage for the rest of your life, or until you have passed the obligation on to another generation. If she wants to keep it in the family, she has until that date to find it a new home. Comment 3. Not the idiot. You are not obligated to keep the chair. One right way to address this, in my opinion, is 1. Ask her if she wants it back. If not, then 2. See if any other family member wants it. If not, then 3. Sell it. You can either keep the money or give it to your mom. My mother-in-law is the same way, and we can't allow other people to take ownership of our personal space. Now, for the next story. My husband, 47-year-old male, and I, 43-year-old female, are both doctors by profession. He works from 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the non-emergency clinical branch. I work in the emergency clinical branch and have no fixed schedule. I don't have Sundays off, as I might be called for emergency cases, while he has Sundays free. We have 2 kids, a 13-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy. My husband loves inviting people for dinners and parties at our home, but I hate all the work that comes with it. My husband only helps in serving cocktails, while I am left in charge of appetizers, main course, dessert, and cleaning up all the expensive crockery in our home after the party. The whole cleaning process is completed at around 4 to 5 a.m. after the party. My husband just goes to bed after the party, leaving me alone to clean up the mess. He wants to invite about 10 couples on Sunday, and I am refusing to host them. Am I the idiot? Now, here are the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. Warn him that you are done, and tell him that if he wants a party, it's all on him. Go to bed after the last guest leaves or pick up a shift starting at the end of the party. He will, in all likelihood, leave the mess for you to clean up. Don't clean up and refuse to use the rooms until he is cleaned up. I suspect he will then try weaponizing his incompetence, so dig your heels in. His party =, his mess =, his cleanup. Sometimes it's necessary to completely stop working before your other half understands how much work you were doing. Stick to your guns and stop enabling this lazy person. Is that what you want your kids to grow up thinking is normal in relationships? It won't do them any favors in the long run. Comment 2. Well, you don't actually have to refuse. Just modify the agreement, OP, and you can have just as good a time as he does. Sure, honey. I'll do the flowers and table setting for you. You're in charge of getting the alcohol and finding a caterer, and they need to do the kitchen cleanup afterwards, and wash my grandma's china by hand. And since you're inviting the guests, I guess you'll be paying the caterer. Not the idiot for putting your foot down before you get sued for medical malpractice due to a mistake you made on a sleep-deprived Sunday case. Go to bed right after the party, just like your husband. Comment 3. Not the idiot, and stop doing this immediately. Of course, your husband loves inviting people. It's pure pleasure for him, and all the work goes to the maid. That's you to avoid confusion. If he wants to party, let him do everything, and don't lift a finger. See how quickly his excitement deflates. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.